Well, welcome back to Speaking Llama, a Survivor podcast. We are both excited and sad to be speaking to the latest castaway of Titans versus Rebels and the third member of the jury. Valeria, how are you feeling after being blindsided last night by one vote at Tribal Council?
Thank you guys for this beautiful introduction. It definitely was shocked, even rewatching this whole experience. I was like, man, that was wild and hectic. And I guess, if you ask me if I would have to be voted out, how would I prefer to go? That's a perfect way. I mean, like, who can forget this disaster happening so bad for me? So, it was fun to watch, and it was a great way for me to exit.
Absolutely. Started off iconic with the blue jacket, ended iconic with the vote out. So that's perfect.
Started with the bench, with it too.
Well, let's start. We have a lot of questions about your game, but let's start with last night's tribal council first. Now, we saw you had the idea of potentially holding off on taking Raymond out, saving him for later, take out a bigger threat. What led you to thinking through that idea, and then what ultimately swayed you against doing that?
Sure. So, with our season, every time we ended up at the tribal council, it is always a blind side. There was
Yeah.
never a vote where it was an easy one or like something we just get along and let's do it together. It was always something. So I was like, I couldn't trust this crew. I mean, I like them, but they're always onto something. So I thought someone already planning something against us anyway. And I was like, we have to, backfire them. And I also with Scotty, leaving the game,
Yeah.
and which obviously threw my game completely. I was like, okay, let's recover from this. Let's figure something out. And then this is maybe my chance to play a big game. Like I couldn't, get my revenge back. So I need to switch onto something else, target other players and see where it takes me. I need to take this risk. So I was so ready for it. I'm a very competitive person. I like to play the game. I like to go hard. So I had all the intention and, the right feel for the game of going hard and do it. At the same time, the morality aspect of it, of, having Scotty just left the game and half of the camp
Yeah.
crying about it, I was just not feeling okay. I was like, maybe because Scotty left and he was very vulnerable with the way he felt, it kind of opened up and softened up Raymond to, be okay of saying to people, I don't feel good. It's not a good space for me. It's not safe. I want to get out of it. And this guy did a top job, man. He was he was sleeping on with the face on the sand. Like he was looking miserable. He was acting miserable. He did not eat and he hardly drank any water. It was legitimately, I legitimately felt for this guy. And if it would be someone else, I would, probably would try to fire back at them because they're just very like I don't know, Ferris or Kirby. I think they are able to fight back that feeling.
Mhm.
Where with Raymond, he was quite a, he was just by himself all the time. He's a bit quite a player, and you don't hear much from him. So I just didn't know if I'm risking something for the sake of welfare of someone else over my game,
Yeah.
or it was just like a battle between me
Mhm.
and my whole body was shaking, thinking something is going on. I was going into the tribal council anxious about something that I didn't know what it was. And that gut feeling was right, but look at it now, would I do it differently? I don't think so, because I just didn't want to
Mhm.
risk it. And Mark had a very good point about it. Like he's a safe player, and he was like, Val, like it's not going to look good. Like, think
Mhm.
about jury review, or think about that. It's maybe not the best choice. And I was like, you know what? I might be overthinking. I might be want to play too hard, but it's sometimes it's not about you. You just have to, do the right thing. And look where it got me.
So what we're learning is don't do the right thing in life. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm going to take away from this season of Survivor. But as you kind of mentioned, a lot of the different tribal councils that you've been a part of have been blindside after blindside. In the tribal council before this one, it was kind of chaotic, right? There's a lot of whispering happen. What was going on from your vantage point? Was it as chaotic in reality as it seemed to us?
Absolutely. It was a math for both tribal councils. And obviously, when I realized it was my name, because we forgot to change it or didn't realize it has to be changed. I was going into the camp back. I was like, Ree, did you put my name down? She's like, no, it wasn't me. It was Jaden. I was like, no, I think it's you. And then after she told me after the game, she's like, Val, it was me. I was just scared. I was just like, I didn't want to fight with you. But it was chaotic for both days because it was obviously my name, and I was very cautious of things that will come back at me later on. The thing is, usually in the game when you watch it, like someone, like if you get target once, the next tribal council, you usually know the target. They're trying to shift it and change this, but it's not changing. So I would expect Raymond to probably target someone else, but he did choose me. And then looking at it now, maybe I'm thinking because he did betray his alliance. And I felt like the fact that he told Ferris and Kirby that, guys, this is the advantage, this is what I have to do, please help me. I think he kind of chose my name, not because he explained I was the physical threat to him personally, but I think it was also coming back to his mates and saying, guys, yes, yesterday you wanted to work out Valeria, sorry, I did my little, thing, but now I want Valeria gone on my own terms to claim that move to himself because he needed a bigger move to claim his success late in the game if he gets to top 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I could definitely see that happen. Right, coming back from that tribal council, right? You talked about your conversation with Rihanna. Well, Raymond flips, but also Kitty flips in that vote. Was there any fallout from her flipping amongst the other Titans?
Kitty was so paranoid that night, and you can see Kitty, she's usually like, even when I saw she was talking to Caroline, she was like, we're still good, like whatever happens. I was like, girl, she's telling you whatever happens, it's gonna happen. Happening. She is very a nervous player. Like she actually felt sick. Like I could see she's all shaky and she keeps talking, and when Kitty is nervous, she talks a lot. And that night, I don't think we went to bed for like other 2 hours because Kitty was just trying to explain her point. She was like, I just wanted to play a game. I thought it's going to be a good move. I'm sorry. I think I've done the wrong thing. I apologize to everyone. Please, Val, be nice to me. And it was just, it was hectic. And, she was trying to come back and lean into it because I feel like her decision join that other side still kind of keeps her in the bottom of that alliance. And I feel like she did it once, it didn't work. She's at the bottom at their alliance, but yes, she might be at the bottom of our alliance, but she still have Caroline, who she said, whatever happens, you and me still good. And I feel like she was really holding on to Caroline's deep relationship that she had previously to, trying to come back in the game, and she would have more chances with us compared to the other side.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, one question we have for you as well is kind of going all the way back to when the tribes swapped. We saw going into the tribe swap, it felt like you, Viola, and Mark were in a power alliance. And then, so how did it feel realizing that control is being taken away from you when Viola and Mark are on the other side? And then you see Viola gets blindsided. I mean, how did you work to kind of take control back of your game and make it as far as you did at that point?
Yes, it's a great question. I mean, I'm a creature of habit, outside of this experience. So not having my 2 people that I prefer to speak to all the time, and being so outnumbered, I definitely felt like it's super uncomfortable. But then I realized it's a game. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You need to move on, cook some food, don't poison anyone, just play your game right. And I felt like I was still like very lucky. Yes, I got Mark and Viola at the beginning, but I ended up with Charles and Winner. And, I didn't speak to these guys before, but we actually had such a good perspective on values. And I remember that day when we got into this tribe swap, we're going back together and 3 of us sitting down. And I remember my conversation with the guys, and I said to them, I said, boys, we didn't work together and we're very outnumbered. I think the only way for us, I know people's going to try to drag us apart. They're going to whisper things in our head, and they're going to sell the dream to you to split us, but don't be brainwashed. We just don't believe anyone. Let's stick together, because if one of us going to get weak at some point. We're all going to go. And I was like, if we can just stick together, it will just make sense compared to anything else that could potentially happen. And that's how it played out. Winner and Charles were so strong, like three of us. And I don't know if it would happen if I would end up with someone else, but with these two, it was just a blessing to my game, knowing that I've got two, still guys that, stuck by their word and by their actions, and we made it to the merge with Winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, like, the only reason Charles goes home is because of a twist at a tribal council, right? So, like, y'all.
You can't get us out by any other things.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was really awesome to see how the three of y'all came together to kind of control which direction that swapped tribe went on to. In the season as well, we've seen a lot of your relationship with Mark. Who else were your kind of like strategic partners out there? Who are you especially close with? Was it mainly just Mark, or anyone else?
Just Mark.
Just Mark.
I mean, obviously, Mark and Charles, yes.
Yeah.
And we all are, and Mark. And I feel like with me, it's a bit hard. I don't want to trust a lot of people. I don't think that's the best strategy. I could be tolerant to other players in terms of strategies, might be not willing to work with others. That could be also a downside for my game, because I can't just, pretend that everything is fine. And like my eyes say, nah, not working. So I feel like, getting close in terms of, I know that person won't step in my back. It was only Mark and Winner who were left, after the post merge. When it comes to other players, I do have a very soft spot for Alex, my little savior, and Eileen. I know me and Eileen on the opposite sides, but I just had a lot of respect for her as a player. I think she's a very intelligent girl, and I really liked her. And I wish, it wouldn't be fair if it would have been me next to her at some point. That game together.
Excellent.
That's so good. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite rewards to watch this season was the barbecue reward after Mark won the car. And so we'd love to hear what your reaction was, what your thought was when he picked you for that reward. And then how quickly did it change, or what changed when he picked Caroline for that reward at that moment in time?
It was the 15 seconds of my happiness that got destroyed immediately. I don't think I even could hold it, because I usually was like, play cool, it's all fine, yeah, happy. And then I could see my face. I was like, man, that wasn't good. The acting was horrible. I just couldn't believe my luck. I said we were just enemies, and when we going back to the camp, Caroline was like meters away from me. Wherever I look, wherever I go, Caroline was like a few meters away, trying to avoid any sort of confrontation or even, like looking at each other. She was just not having it. So, going into barbecue now, I was like, I have to have a fist right next to that person. I was like, that's going to be interesting. I was like, you can't plan for it. Like out of everyone, us to get together and just make it all happen and have this conversation was definitely something I didn't expect in the game, but it was a good thing for Mark to do. Like, it definitely brought us together. I spoke my piece, and Caroline spoke what she was thinking that moment, and it was a good moment for me to say sorry, and for her to kind of come down and kind of put our guns down, and to say, I was like, there's so many people that we can still shoot. Like, why are we fighting with each other? Let's bring that energy of fighting back again and getting onto someone else's. So I feel like at the end of the day, we sorted out in a much more mature way that it could have been. And, I don't regret it. Caroline stuck by us, where Kitty obviously didn't, but that, that conversation, I think that's what got Caroline to stuck by us for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Really good.
It's really hard to bury that, right? To get over like any grudges in Survivor, especially like after living with people so closely on the island. But one thing that we did want to know, right? Let's reverse time. This doesn't happen to you. You don't get blindsided by this twist. What was your path to the end? Who were your like final three that you ideally were sitting next to in order to win the game?
Yeah, I would be definitely excited to have my people by my side.
Yeah.
I am a competitive person. I like a healthy competition. I don't mind to compete with my own people. And when it comes to giving a pitch and sell the dream to the jury, I have no, no bad feelings of having to compete with my people on that level, because then we would be, similar in a sense. You just have to, sell your dream better than anyone else. So I saw Mark and Alex by my side, and they didn't happen, and it's something you can never plan. But I really wanted those two by my side, and trying to go to the very end and do the sales pitch together.
That would have been a great final three. Great final three. Well, one last question for you. We've heard from some of your fellow Titans, some rumors about a story you shared early on about a wolf that you took down. If you feel comfortable, would you be willing to share maybe some highlights, a brief summary of what happened there?
To be honest, I never knew it's gonna get out there. When I had to explain it to my parents, the first thing I was like, "Oh my God, what are they gonna think about you?" With all the political incorrectness in the world that happening associated with Russia, me fighting the wolf is definitely not giving me a very good look. But it's crazy. The reason why I even said it is just we're going in our this little circle at the beginning, and everyone's like, Jaden was like, "I'm a strong man. I can lift airplanes." And we've got Kitty. She was like, "I can lift 200 kilos." And Viola was like, "I can squat 260 kilos." And everyone showing off so hard. I was like, okay, how I'm gonna impress people? What I'm gonna say? I was like, I have to come up with a story. I have to think of anything in my life that would be, that people will never forget. I was spot on. People did not forget. So what happened is I used to have two dogs. We had American Bulldog and the little Chinese Chris, tiny dog with no fur. And our bulldog died, and the little one always remembered to go outside and bark at everyone because the big dog was always there. So then we lost our big dog, and I was walking with the little one, and because I was in the village where it's a lot of forest back there. So it was, street dogs and wolves. And they're sometimes coming in into our it's like a military camp, because my father used to work for the government. So it was just not very restricted area. It was a bit scary for even kids to just walk outside. So we had this dog it was a gray colored dog. So we knew it was a cross with a wolf, and it will come in our camp sometimes. And then I'm walking with my little dog, and it's always tough, 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 tough at everyone. And then this wolf was there, and man, he just went to my little puppy straight away and it grabbed the neck. And because he's got no fur, nothing, I was like, man, the dog is going to die right now. So what I did is, because I looked, that wolf grabbed him by the neck, I decided to do exactly the same thing. So I jumped on top of that wolf and I started biting into the neck, because I thought if the animal does it, that means something. So I was biting into the neck until people started to scream, and my mom heard it. So they ran and started to throw the rocks at that wolf where I was on top of it. And I remember I was coming out of it. She was like, "How are you feeling?" I was like, "I can't feel my mouth." I just got into it, and I wouldn't let it go because I just didn't know what to do. I was like suffocating and trying to battle as much as I can, which brings to the fact that I'm loyal. I will fight for my people until the end. Man, I fought for the dog. Like, you are safe with me.
It's amazing. You are a badass, an icon, everything. Absolutely love that.
Wow.
It's been phenomenal talking to you today. Really appreciate it. Wish you were in the game longer, but again, really had a good time seeing the twist unfold last night. I wish it happened differently, but there's maybe next time. We always do a fantasy draft, a preseason fantasy draft, and this year Kaleb picked you as one of his 5 members. So it's great. I'm a little happy you're gone for that reason, but that's all.
That's all.
But Valeria, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy watching the rest of the season unfold.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Kaleb. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you too.